Our intrepid yet doomed hero survived the jaws of the ferocious dinosaur. Will he meet his end miles underground as an aperitif for a ravenous raptor? What dark secrets could be buried in the lost city of Agartha? Will the general ever discover the location of his lost bomb? All of these questions and more will be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
What luck! What a miracle! One moment I was rushing into the fetid tonsils of that horrible monster. The next, I was plummeting downwards to the jungle floor beyond its reach. I prayed I would land on something soft.
Perhaps your head.
But nothing could have prepared me for what was about to unfold. An epic saga of pride, power, and revolution. A struggle for freedom, the likes of which our world has never seen. And it happened like this. Now me, I am a simple man. I only require that a switch may be turned on or off. But those clever Agarthans, they made switches that turned themselves off after a time. Oh, what an extraordinary labor-saving stroke of brilliance. Now me, I am a simple man. I only require that a switch may be turned on or off. But those clever Agarthans, they made switches that turned themselves off after a time. Oh, what an extraordinary Who were those strange, gentle monsters who towered above me? I could only guess they were the lost tribe of the Menth, an earlier race of people. But why were they so fearful of those ancient gates that lay just beyond their village? And why did they seem to recognize me? Why?
Yes. I'm also wondering why.
No, как же, General? Who was I to question such things? Trapped as I was deep underground. I was more curious, I must admit, about the location of little Orpheus.
You talk of a great city, a mighty power. Yet your nymph squatted like savages in huts at its boundary.
They did. And the answer to that mystery lay beyond my grasp at that point. Auntie Masha's travels once took her to Chatura, where she was trapped in a cable car suspended over the Oscilia of River Quirilia for 6 hours with a hairy manganese entrepreneur. It led to a brief but passionate affair, according to her wonderful diaries. Because it was a wonder, it truly was.
The lost city of Agartha. I hope I may one day see it myself.
Oh, General, if only you could. Unfortunately, as I shall explain, should you seek Agartha now, you wouldn't find it. It has been utterly destroyed.
Utterly destroyed?
Utterly, General, a tragic loss.
A convenient loss.
I imagine archaeologists weeping as I tell you. But most importantly, before we continue, you must understand one crucial fact about its destruction.
Which is?
It wasn't my fault. But are you sure? I said. It really does smell extremely doggy. And the seat is disagreeably small and cramped. And this aperture on the dashboard near the signal control button is, well, bone-shaped. Nonsense, they cried. What kind of fiend would send a man to the center of the earth in a capsule designed for a suitcase-sized dog? Those poor, unfortunate Minkf, trapped and kidnapped and dragged away, only to return as vicious foot soldiers to some unknown tyrant. And yet, there was something familiar about the shtukovna they were forced to wear on their heads, which I was sure were being used to control and enslave them.
And what was that?
General, it curiously resembled the radio sets I used to tinker with as a child.
Radio sets?
It was very curious.
It was very curious.
It was extremely curious. My Uncle Arlian was legendarily grumpy. When neighbors came to his door to discuss the weather, he would stick his head out of the toilet window above it and bellow at them to leave. The gates to Agartha reminded me of this bizarre custom of his.
An ancient technological metropolis, powered by a glowing resin carved from the very earth?
A glowing resin carved from the very earth. Do you see, General?
I fear you are about to enlighten me.
They were a clever bunch, those Agarthans. A tragedy that I only saw a fraction of their grand plans before the city was destroyed. Little Orpheus must have been drained by the impact, but whoever had stolen it and brought it here was no doubt planning to use the Agarthan resin to charge up the atomic bomb, restoring the device to its full potential. What sort of man would come up with such a monstrously reckless scheme?
Perhaps the type of man who has such limited understanding of atomic energy that he thinks an ancient metropolis can be powered by shiny marbles. In retrospect, I do wish the central power source of Agartha had been a cube rather than a globe. It would be far easier to run from a cube, as they don't tend to roll as well. I am curious, Ivan Ivanovich. You talk and talk about this great subterranean city, yet what you describe sounds strangely familiar. It does in some way bear an uncanny resemblance to the glorious architecture of Comrade Alexei Dushkin. Wouldn't you agree?
Danyet, General. I have never heard of this great Tavarish Dushkin or his works.
Interesting. Because you were photographed on the steps of his marvelous Vysotka na Krasnich Varotach, shaking hands with the Glavny constructor.
That was the chief designer? The sweaty little fat man with the bad hearing?
Mind your mouth, Ivan Ivanovich. And don't think you can distract me by slandering one of the great visionaries of our time. Without him, neither of us would be sitting here now.
I must remember to thank him for that, General. Those enslaved Mink were trying to stop me. I was sure of that now.
I find myself sympathizing with them, I must admit.
No, General, then I have failed to win you over.
Uh-huh. A point of agreement at last.
Ask again, General. Are you mocking me?
That would be unprofessional, comrade.
I will try harder to convince you then. It is, after all, a cautionary tale of unleashed tyranny.
It is a cautionary tale of unleashed idiocy. But please, do continue.
A civilization may be best judged by the scale and diversity of its doors. So opines a criminally unknown philosopher Pridurkin.
I stepped from the cable car onto a plateau at the center of the city, where a palace, a vast acropolis, stood. I was reminded of Chelyabinsk Sorok.
May I ask how you know of Chelyabinsk Sorok?
My Aunt Masha was a traveling tinker who married a beef investigator from Zlatoust. She told me of a secret but wonderful city in the west. An edifice of sheer power, humbly serving the will and needs of the people.
Yes, unfortunately, that story didn't end so well.
No. That's what Auntie Marcia told me. And perhaps that is why I was also reminded of it. Because the moment I touched the floor in that place, I could tell something was very, very wrong. Began to shake, alarming me, and the whole city felt as if it was shuddering. I could only imagine what I would find at the heart of the vast temple.
If it isn't a giant glowing marble, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Did I mention the parts of Agartha where strange purple mists seeped from the floor? I didn't? A terrible omission! Прошу прощения!
A huge resin sphere that overshadowed all of the others. I caught glimpses through the twisted architecture. And it was then I saw him.
Him?
The thief, the enslaver, the tyrant, sucking the...
A keen observer may have noticed a striking similarity between the ancient Agarthan statues and the Mienkf. Perhaps the general was foolish to write them off as savages. A deeper relationship between the two was clearly there to be discovered.
Power from this wondrous city as he drained the very lifeblood of the ancient civilization and drew it into the atomic embrace of little Orpheus. With a song in my heart, I raced onwards to stop him.
Cousin Pavel once claimed to have met a Mienkf whilst looking for mushrooms in Aktau. Oh, of course he was lying. They all lived underground. I found them to be a truly gentle and civilized people, not the hairy brutes of myth.
Drained of its power, the magical heart of the city cracked, and it sent shockwaves through the world around me. A true monster general, willing to bring down the mountain itself upon Agartha and bury it forever in his ruthless scheme. I could not save that wondrous place, General, to my shame and regret. But I resolved myself to avenge the Myth, to recapture little Orpheus, and to bring that tyrant to justice.
Will our plucky yet careless hero fall forever through those unknown skies? Will he discover the identity of the brutal thief commanding the army of the Menk? What chance does he have of ever returning to his beloved homeland? How long can the general's patience last? All of these questions and more will definitely be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!
I plummeted down through that weird sky towards a great turbulent ocean that roared and swelled. A ferocious sea that offered no hope of survival. I thought of home and wept, unaware that in an instant my fortunes would be changed by an event so bizarre I almost hesitate to tell you. And it happened like this.
A giant whale?
It was huge, General.
You were swallowed by a giant whale.
Yes, General.
You look remarkably well for a man who was swallowed by a whale.
I am blessed with a strong constitution, General.
And I assume you are now going to tell me how you managed to escape from the belly of this giant whale.
Naturally, General. And I must say, it really was a fascinating glimpse into the interior life of one of our world's most magnificent beasts. I consider myself a wiser man after this experience. It was an extraordinary place, General. I could perhaps deliver a lecture on the subject to Moscow University's Zoological Society, if you like. I only want to help.
The Moscow University Zoological Society has, I suspect, better things to do than listen to the ramblings of a man who claims he was swallowed by a whale.
That is a shame, General. People can be so closed-minded.
I, on the other hand, had little choice but to hear you out. For your own sake, Ivan Ivanovich, I must...
That is a shame, General. People can be so closed-minded.
I, on the other hand, had little choice but to hear you out. For your own sake, Ivan Ivanovich, I must urge you to be brief.
Absolutely, General. I will tell you directly of my miraculous escape from the belly of the whale. You simply won't believe what happened next.
That is becoming a dangerously overused phrase.
And so I found myself deep within the whale's organs. A strangely beautiful place. A sort of fleshy wonderland. A glade of polyps and globules. A landscape as awe-inspiring in its way as the forests and mountains of Altai. Oh, my home, General, that I yearned and longed for, and only hoped, as I hope now, that I might one day see again.
I think we're all longing for home at this point.
Oh, with warm slippers, a mug of steaming Spitzin, and a roaring fire. Not far from home, trapped inside a monstrous fish with only the strange and evil-looking worms that infested its gut for company. With only one's dedication to one's country and mission to keep one from falling into despair. But no, General, I could not. I had to escape, to find little Orpheus and my way back to the surface and home.
Worms, you said, living inside the whale.
Oh, they were horrid things, those worms, General. And most unwelcome, I would say. Parasites. And I had no idea just how rampant their infestation was, nor of the tremendous sizes they could grow to. At that point, my thoughts were only of escape. And I had a plan.
Yes, I'm sure you did. worms. They made your Nivirayatni whale sick.
Wherever they attached themselves, the flesh began to turn grey and die. It was a truly distressing sight. And I resolved myself to assist the whale by removing the leeches wherever I could find them during my escape. In my mind, it was a simple plan, General. I would climb up through the whale's throat into its mouth, then wait until it opened it to feed and swim out.
Ah, yes. Brilliant, Ivan Ivanovich. Only one or two minor flaws with it. For example, did it not occur to you that the whale would likely be deep underwater when it ate?
Vyprava, General, but I am a strong swimmer. As a child, my parents would take us to holiday near Irkutsk, where we took constitutionals in the waters of Lake Baikal. In fact, my mother often called me her malinki morskoy kotik.
A giant worm for a giant whale, huh?
At the risk of repeating myself, it was huge, General.
The Moscow University Zoological Society may be interested after all. Let us take a moment, Ivan Ivanovich. Your ridiculous plan to escape through the mouth of the whale failing, you would now have me believe you had embarked on some misguided crusade to free it of the worm infestation. To what end, exactly?
When one suffers, we all suffer, General.
Your ideological commitment is admirable, comrade, but...
I concluded that if I could find the root of the infestation and neutralize it, the whale could mount a spirited counterattack against the worms. And then, victorious, the whale would surface to expel the remaining poisonous muck and slime from its body. And at that point, I could escape through the nearest convenient orifice. In this case, most likely the blowhole.
That is the most revolting thing I've ever heard.
General, we are Russians. We have withstood the sheer force of nature and history and emerged triumphant. An expedition through the nasal sphincter of a gargantuan whale is nothing to us. And then, victorious, the whale would surface to expel the remaining poisonous muck and slime from its body. And at that point, I could escape through the nearest convenient orifice. In this case, most likely the blowhole.
That is the most revolting thing I've ever heard.
General, we are Russians. We have withstood the sheer force of nature and history and emerged triumphant. An expedition through the nasal sphincter of a gargantuan whale is nothing to us. And then, victorious, the whale would surface to expel the remaining poisonous muck and slime from its body. And at that point, I could escape through the nearest convenient orifice. In this case, most likely the blowhole.
That is the most revolting thing I've ever heard.
Henry, we are Russians. We have withstood the sheer force of nature and history and emerged triumphant. An expedition through the nasal sphincter of a gargantuan whale is nothing to us.
I suppose you would have me believe that the whale was grateful to you.
Oh, well, General, that would be presumptuous. I doubt it was even aware of my presence. But I had more immediate problems. For if the whale might have been relieved by my actions, the worms were enraged.
Worms do...
Furious.
Worms
Incandescent.
do not feel...
Violently indignant.
emotions.
Demented, General. Deranged.
Enough!
Where is little Orpheus? Where is my bomb? Unless you are trying to tell me the whale swooped that as well.
No, it did not, General. That would be...
Where is little Orpheus? Where is my bomb? Unless you are trying to tell me the whale swooped that as well.
No, it did not, General. That would be absurd.
No, Ivan Ivanovich, you are absurd. Your story is absurd. This whole ridiculous fairy tale is absurd. Brave yet foolhardy hero escape the furious worm? Will he be doomed to spend his days trapped in the innards of a bad-tempered cetacean? Where is the whale swimming to in such a rush? And what will it do when it gets there? Is the general about to lose his temper and order the cosmonaut shot? All of these questions and more must surely be answered in the next exciting episode of Little Orpheus!